Hey there, happy Wednesday. Grab myself a little something to drink and join you. It's been a little while since we've had a Wednesday night tap talk. It's been several weeks, as a matter of fact. And this will be the last one of the year of 2022. I hadn't realized that until just this moment. So, well, here we are. So, to 2022 full of beer chats and hopefully lots of good stuff and maybe some stuff we'll leave in the past. Cheers. Hope you've got a nice little, this long, crazy, weird weekend between Christmas and New Year's where it's just sort of like, I don't know, who knows? Apparently it's Wednesday, they say, but it's hard to tell exactly. And finally starting to thaw out up here as well. The temperatures in the 30s, so it feels pretty good. And as always, is good beer drinking weather. And so we've come to talk about some tasty beers and some fun stuff coming in the year ahead. So find yourself something, in case you need any excuse at this point, to just keep drinking throughout the year. Starting this weekend, you make your resolutions and hang it up, whatever you need to do. But I've got what I consider to be maybe one of our big crowd pleasers at the moment in my hand. This one is a new beer to us, and I don't know if it's totally new for them, but it's new to me through them, and them being Humble Forager Brewing. So this is one of those, I think I've explained this before in the past, started out as Forager Brewing in Rochester, Minnesota, and then started this kind of branch to explore different beer styles and more kind of fun experimental things under the Humble Forager label. And the beers are produced by Octopi Brewing out of Waunakee, Wisconsin. So it's a Wisconsin beer with Minnesota roots, but it's distinctively kind of a Midwest beer. This one is called Headwaters. It is a amber lager made with wild rice. So this one is going to kind of scratch the Oktoberfest itch for a lot of people. And what I found over the course of our time here at the Whistle Punk, one of the things I discovered that was a surprise to me, and maybe it shouldn't have been, is the popularity of ambers and red ales, red lagers, amber ales, amber lagers. Things that look like about this color tend to do really, really well here. And I think the main reason is that they are beers that are flavorful and interesting without being over the top. Like you could sit back and drink several of these. It's not, have a good night. It's not a like over the top in your face beer, but it does have good flavor. So if you like to drink good beer, then this is kind of the thing. And you get a little bit of that kind of toasty, malty flavor. The wild rice, I think, comes in with a bit of nuttiness, which works out really well. And it's got like a subtle little fruity thing going on there. Just, I don't know, maybe a little bit of, oh wow. I was just aware of how sniffy my last beer quaff was. Might be a little bit too much. I think we've discussed the discreet sniff. That's so you don't look pompous amongst like group of friends, because beer is one of those things that you can appreciate the high quality element of it, but we don't need to be like all in your face and I don't know. It's sort of how I feel like wine can sort of be that way sometimes. We can, quaffing it. It's good to get a smell of it, but enjoy a nice taste. So this one we just put on. I got a half barrel of it, so it'll be around for a bit. Oh, trivia. Here's trivia for any of those who want to play along. Approximately, and it's approximate because it varies from beer to beer and how it's poured and everything like that. But trivia question to all of you listening. Approximately how many pints, 16-ounce pours of beer, can be expected to yield from a half-barrel keg? So a half-barrel keg is kind of what most people imagine when they think of a traditional keg. So it's the, I I'm not going to say the exact gallons on it because I don't want you to be able to just quickly do the math. But a half barrel is the sort of the standard full-size keg. So closest number of pints, whoever is closest to it, I'd say you get a beer on me. Come in, you can claim it on your next visit in. So feel free to post your guesses in the question or in the comment section. You can find out how many we've got of that. All right, next up, we got a bunch of new beers on tap. We've been off. It's just been a weird kind of week. Well, not weird. It's been the holidays, and then we had a winter storm, and yada yada yada. I can make all the excuses I want, but I haven't seen you for Tap Talk, so I've got some catching up to do. All right, Humble Forager. Okay, so I see we have one guess. We have one entry in there. Who else has got a thought? And I will tell you at the end. This next one is a cider. Oh, gosh, it's super good. All right, this is a cidery that I've talked about before. Down East, they're from Boston. I don't know why do I have to do that? I'm sure the people from out east, they say this cheese is from Wisconsin. I don't know if they do the same thing, but they make killer ciders. I mean, they're tasty. They won't kill you unless you drink too much. I don't know. I'm getting astray here. But their big thing for all their ciders is that they're unfiltered. So you can see this could look like a hazy IPA, but it's just a nice unfiltered cider. And they strike what I think is kind of just the right balance of sweetness in their ciders. They do have a little bit of sweetness to them, but I think it's just enough that sort of makes it refreshingly drinkable. Because I've had some dry ciders that taste good. They have an interesting flavor, but they're not something I could drink very much of. It's not overly acidic. So this is their the Winter Blend cider from Down East Cider Company. And this one, they age on some toasted oak chips, as well as vanilla and cinnamon. So right up front, you can smell there's cinnamon in it. Definitely gives you the whole holiday vibes. But then it's got a little bit of that vanilla. And then I think the oak serves to help just kind of give it a little bit, take some of that acidity off, and also give it a little of a rounded, slightly vanilla-y characteristic. Okay, we got a couple guesses in here. Keep guessing. It might be a tough choice between a few of these. But Down East has done a great job, and we're always been. I've now really looked forward to their seasonals. This is our second year in a row having the Winter Blend, and it goes over really well. And I find myself as being a person who has an appreciation for ciders but doesn't often drink them very much. This is one that I find myself going to while we're here in the shop, and you most likely if you come to the Whistle Punk at any given time during the afternoon, there's a fair chance you'll see me working on something like this. I'm working on 2 to 3 ounces of beer, kind of, most of the time, because I'm tasting what we've got on tap, and I often just want just a little bit, just to kind of refresh how it tastes in my mind and get the essence of it. And so it works out really well, and it also helps keep it at bay without. It's dangerous having taps of beer available to you at all the time to keep it restrained. So this one of my favorite winter seasonal ciders, just really nice and balanced. So if you dig a cider, or if you've been wanting to find one that you might enjoy, come give it a sip. Okay, and next up, look, it's another beer that has the similar color to what we were talking about before. So this you could expect to do pretty well, although this one packs a little bit more of a punch. Oh, this is this is right up my alley. So this is a new beer from New Glarus as part of their Thumbprint series called a Weizen Doppelbock. So it's a bit of a kind of a hybrid name. Weizen meaning reference to the wheat that's used in it, and then Doppelbock referring to the strength. So traditionally a Doppelbock is a type of strong lager, but this is a strong wheat ale. So the Doppelbock just refers to the strength. And traditionally Doppelbocks are things that are made seasonally around the holidays and and for special occasions, so for Christmas, for Lent, in the springtime, just various different types of Bock beer and strong beer is what it references. So this one, you get some of it's like a Hefeweizen. You get some of that banana kind of clovey character, but it's a little bit darker. It's got a little bit more malt, a little caramely character, and that brings out some of the fruitiness in there. So it makes this beer, which clocks in at around 9%, a much more balanced, interesting, drinkable thing. If you're just joining us, there's been a trivia question posed to the viewing audience. The question is, approximately how many pints of beer, how many 16-ounce pours are there in a standard half-barrel keg of beer? Half-barrel meaning the traditional large format keg that you see in most bars or college house parties. So post your answers in here. Winner gets a free pint. Back to the Weizen Doppelbock from New Glarus. Like caramelized bananas is a great way to describe this one. It's got a little toffee stuff going on there. Just another example for me of like New Glarus just sort of kills it. They do a great job with a lot of their styles, particularly traditional styles. If anyone is familiar with the German brewery Schneider, so they make like Schneider Weiss. They also produce a beer called Aventinus. It comes in this really cool purple label. We've had it on tap here before. This is essentially the same beer style as Aventinus, and is just a really good example. Okay, Ethan, you have two guesses. You got to pick which one you're going to go for. And this is just a great beer for this time of year. It's malty, it's rich, it's got some alcohol, heat. You could have this around a campfire. And now that it's not just bitter cold, you can have a nice bonfire outside. So come in and get some of this one. All right. And yeah, bonfire beer, New Glarus Weizen Doppelbock. Okay. And then last new tap beer that we're going to talk about before I mention one other fun thing we've got going on. And this one has been it's Fruit Basket in a delicious way. This is a new Cool Kid beer. We're very happy to have it. This comes to us from Youngbloods Brewery in Madison, Wisconsin. They have been kind of one of the more buzzed about breweries in Wisconsin. Sorry. That's what you get with the live, is occasionally just brain just short circuits and you just go, what am I doing or talking about? Youngblood makes very tasty beer and has quite a reputation for, I think, making like predominantly, I think their big hitting categories would be in the sort of hazy IPA realm and the sour fruited beer realm. And they have some quite epic beer names. So what we have right here from Youngblood Brewing is Jeepers Cripes Superstar, which Lindsay and I were discussing during a shift a week or so ago, that Jeepers Cripes Superstar might be the rendition of Jesus Christ Superstar redone by Charlie Berens. So just imagine that in all its glory. But this is basically they bill it as a tropical fruit punch sour ale. So it's got some lychee fruit, some guava. Yeah, right, Xylus, yeah, watch my language. And it has a perfect balance between tart and sweet. So it's got like a little bit of a zing, just a little bit of a tang to it, but there's a backing kind of sweetness, which just makes it drink like, you feel like you should be on a beach with this. So in contrast to something dark that you want to be having by the bonfire, this is one to kind of imagine that you're having a little bit of a tropical holiday party in the winter Northland that we're experiencing. They also have some other really cool, interesting beers that we'll hopefully be seeing. This is our first opportunity to get their stuff. We'll hopefully see some more in the future. And one I like that there's math, Jen. I will be curious. You'll have to show that when you come in next. One of their beers is also named Tom Petty circa 1991, which I hope to have at some point here in the future as well. Just lots of fun, and so a cool place to check out if you're down in Madison. And if you're not and you're in Stone Lake and you want to try some of their beer, stop on in. Okay, last thing for the evening, since we're coming up on the new year and you have to celebrate the new year. And what do people typically do when they celebrate the new year? You pop open a bottle of champagne. Well, if you're a beer lover and maybe you don't really care for champagne all that much, this is the answer. It is Deus, folks. It is one of the most beautiful beers that exists. It is a beer that is made in Belgium. It is made by the Bastilles Brewery. So if you are a Belgian beer fan or a Whistlepunk regular over the last several years, you may have had beers like Triple Carmelite or Kwak, which comes in the fun wooden glass with a sort of test tube looking glass. That is the same brewery that makes this beer. And this is a beer that has the distinction of being one of the only, or the only beer that I'm aware of that is actually aged in the caves of Champagne, France, because that is why Champagne is called Champagne, is that it is made in Champagne, France, in that region. So this beer gets aged. They use a champagne yeast in the bottle to help give it a very big effervescent character and impart a little bit of a unique yeast character to it. And the process is very hands-on. So for every 12 bottles of Deus that are produced, they're stored upside down and frozen, and they freeze out the yeast to remove that from the bottle. And they have to rotate them every, this is the true champagne of beers, not High Life. This is actually the champagne of beers. They tilt the bottles upside down to consolidate the yeast in the neck of the beer, and then they freeze it and remove that yeast plug to get the yeast out of the beer. In order to do that, they lose a bit of beer, so 1 out of every 12 bottles has to be sacrificed to top up the previous 11. It's quite a hands-on process, but it yields an amazing beer. It's basically a Belgian strong golden ale, so if you're familiar with a Belgian triple, or things that are in that realm of like Duvel, Triple Carmelite, Schoof, a lot of these Belgian-style strong golden ales that are very effervescent. This is 11.5% alcohol. I think 11.5. So it drinks like champagne. I tell people, treat it just like you would a champagne. It's got a cork. You can pop it, and it's a fun beer to drink. It's just not nearly as dry as champagne. Most champagne, I should say, like kind of a traditional brut champagne. This is going to be not as dry. It's going to be fruity. It's going to have a little bit of that sort of apricot, kind of floral quality about it that's traditional with a lot of Belgian beers from the fermentation process that they undergo and the yeast and the hops that they use in there. But this is kind of a cool beer to have for your New Year celebration. It also is great for celebrating really any kind of occasion, graduating from college, buying a house, new kid. I think that's about as crass way of saying having a baby as what you can say. But any type of fun, special occasion that you want to celebrate, there's Deus. We sell it here. We have it available. Last year, I did sell out of our whole supply on New Year's Eve. I would hope to do that again. I bought a little bit more than I did last year. So help me sell all the Deus so that way we can become like one of the biggest selling Deus places in the state of Wisconsin, if not in the upper Midwest. At the store that I worked at in the Twin Cities, the Four Firkins, where I got my start in beer, we were the #1 selling Deus account. I think one of the largest in the whole country. So I've tried to carry that legacy forward because this beer is just so cool. And so that's something to come and enjoy for your New Year's. So there you have it. This week, if you're looking at coming in, We will be open basically our normal hours all week, except New Year's Eve. New Year's Eve day on Saturday, we will only be open until 2 p.m. So we will be closing early on Saturday on New Year's Eve, 2 p.m. Sunday, New Year's Day, we're going to be open our normal hours, 8 to noon. That'll be our first time being open on New Year's Day. So depending on how perky you're feeling, whether you need a little bit of a lift or if you just kind of want to stumble on in, or if maybe you're feeling bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and ready to take on the new year, either way, come and join us. All right, and I have to scroll through here. I think I've got very good guesses for the number of pints. I'm slightly skewed because there's like a factual answer, and then as a bar owner, there's a real answer, because what you should expect from a keg to be able to get out of 15.5 gallons. I think if you do the math exactly, I don't know if I can even do this, to be able to get 124 pints out of 15.5 gallons of beer. That is the technical correct scientific answer, which would mean that Ethan is technically correct, which I suppose, since he made Ethan, fine, you got it right, technically speaking, but there's actually going to be two winners on here. So I have to show this off, though, in case you don't follow us on Facebook, which you probably do because you're watching this. These cool things that Ethan was one of our employees here, and I don't know, we may recruit him back again at some point, but so Ethan and his wife Jen both worked at Castle Danger Brewing in Two Harbors, and then moved back to the Hayward area, joined our team here for a little while, and while their business was taking off, and now their business is taking off and they're just killing it. And one of the things that they do, aside from screen printing and doing graphic design, websites and all that stuff, is make cool laser cut things. And to mark our tappers, to let people know what beers, what glasses to put them in, we had done various different things of marking the taps over the years, of putting a dot on them if they're 12 ounce or whatever, and eventually I'd cut out some little paper things. But now we have these. These are super cool wood cutouts of the various different beer glasses that we're supposed to use, and I've got a couple other ones for when we have those on tap as well. So if you live in the Hayward area and you need awesome things made, whether they be shirts or whether they be little wooden cutouts or magnets or ornaments or all sorts of cool stuff, get a hold of Ethan and Jen at Studio North. So, all right, fine. Ethan, you win a prize, but what I'm going to say is, as a bar owner, there's no way in hell you're getting 124 pints out of your keg, which brings me to Rhonda. Rhonda's going to win. I think the bar, so you're both winning. You both each get a drink. Hooray, good for you. Rhonda says approximately 120 pints, and I think that is probably a more realistic answer. I hedge my bets as a bar owner. There are two things that we have going on when you're pouring beers. One is head, the foam on the beer. A good beer should have a solid half-inch minimum of head on the beer. That's part of the program. That's the way the beer should be served. That's where the aroma comes from, and that's part of good beer service. If it doesn't have any head on it, that means probably the beer is either undercarbonated or it's being served too low of a pressure. Occasionally happens here. Sometimes we get kegs that have lower carbonation. You kind of have to pour them a little bit more firmly to help rouse some of the bubbles in there. Mostly so that way the bubbles come out, the gas comes out in the as they're drinking it, and as opposed to drinking all that gas that that's dissolved into the liquid that hasn't come out, and can make you kind of gassy or burpy, and also diminishes the sort of the flavor profile of the beer. So I'd say you're happy if you can get close to that amount because of tastes as well. I don't know, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. My own factor of trying the beers and maybe having a little bit. Yeah, Jen, I'm curious to see your math when you stop in. But anyway, so fun little fact about that. So you can break that down however you'd like to as well. Half barrel, 120-ish pints. I say 115 to 20. A quarter barrel, half the amount of that, and then a 6 barrel is 1/3 the amount of that. So, 40 pints out of a 6 barrel, it's possible, but it's probably likely less than that. So anyway, fun with beer math. All right. Well, you have a wonderful Wednesday evening and a happy new year. And the next time that I see you via Tap Talk, it will be 2023, and we'll be moving in, moving in a new direction, I suppose. So I hope that the new year brings you good health and fun stories to tell. I don't know where that came from. Fun stories to tell is a good thing to have. All right, I'm just going to wrap this up because I'm rambling. Cheers. Have a happy Wednesday night. Take it easy.